Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror, episode number 380. In case you were wondering, I'm Eric, the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me tonight, first up, he makes bloodygoodhorror.com and he has thoughts on horror movies, and his name is Mark.
Sometimes.
Next up, he lives in New York City. He's the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com. His name is Schnars. Shanners. Next up on the show, Casey Criswell. He writes things and he hosts the Instamatic.
Hi.
And last up tonight, joining us, the lovely pink-haired Sophie.
What up, guys?
Member of BGH, the new class. That's right. Tonight, we are here to talk about the Conjuring 2. We might talk a little Rob Zombie 31 trailer. We can talk about my pneumonia that I've had for like almost 2 weeks now.
No one wants to talk about that.
It's going to be unavoidable here. I'm a little phlegmy, so. Horror is what I'm trying to say. Welcome.
So excited to be here.
One and all to the show, my children. No Joe tonight. What's Joe doing?
Joe just got a house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Purchased a real big house
In Chicago.
It's a real house.
Hashtag get a house.
He got a
Yeah.
house.
Get a daughter, got a house.
It is. It is probably 10, 15 miles away from his old house, which is further away from the city, but he is still in the general Chicagoland area.
John, did you see his house or his old place?
I was at his old place.
How was that?
It was super nice.
If you wanted,
Did you sleep in the Chicago Bears room?
Yes, I did.
AKA
Joe's it's like not even a man cave. It's just like a bunch of his I was gonna say paraphernalia, his memorabilia with Chicago Bears colors.
Yeah, it is. It's bright orange and navy blue, which are like dark navy, which are the Bears colors. And whoever was the previous owner of the house must have been a huge Bears fan.
I was gonna say,
I think
Joe...
we've talked about it on the show before. Like Joe bitches about it every time I talk to him about the house, but they never repainted it, so it is forever the Bears room.
All right, I was gonna say because Joe
so.
grew up in New York, so I don't know where his Bears room. I see now. It was not his Bears room.
Correct.
Right, he was not like leaning into the Chicago thing so hard that he painted a room like the weirdest colors.
Right, that would have been odd.
Yeah. Our cousin growing up was a big Dolphins fan, and he had the Dolphins colors in his room, which are a much more an even more unsettling set of colors to paint a bedroom.
There's always that one guy. Like in our age, everybody became Cowboys fans because they won a couple Super Bowls, and now you're like just a sad middle-aged Cowboys fan.
I mean, when's the part that you talk about being a Bills fan and being on the whooping end of all the Cowboys victories?
I'm a martyr, man. I went through all of it.
That's true. Yeah, I've often considered you a martyr.
Oh, gee. It's a good episode.
Speaking of martyrs,
it's a good episode to bring that up on. You want to talk about Rob Zombie quick? What did you just make me?
Do you want to?
What did you just,
I want to?
Mark, what did you just bring into my life just now?
When is this movie coming out? Is it out? I'm very confused.
I don't think it's out yet, but it's been talked about a lot because it's mostly crowdfunded, isn't it?
Can Mark tell us about what it is first before we?
Sure, it's about clowns. If you're,
we want you to guess.
Yeah, it's about clowns.
It's a Rob Zombie movie. How hard can it be to figure out, man?
Yeah. For sure. If you haven't seen it yet, we have the trailer up on the website, and we also have Cece posted the trailer and also posted 31 hot takes to the trailer.
31.
Each one of them is amazing.
She's listed through her pretty hilarious thoughts on the trailer as she was watching them, so bloodygoodhorror.com is where you can go for that. And I wish I could offer more of a synopsis, but like it's a Rob Zombie movie, and there's like cages, and everything is mostly like red and orange, and there's clowns.
So the plot is that they're like captured and then they have to fight each other to like survive in a house.
Right, they're like, do you want to play 31? We're going to trap you in here for 12 hours. So I don't know where you get what kind of math, what happens to the other 19 or whatever in there, but I don't know.
It's like if Rob Zombie directed The Purge, basically.
I assumed it was 31 people, but maybe I'm wrong.
31
I mean, the trailer
days.
starts with like the most like on the nose evil clown shit ever, which is a person like putting on the nose, get it? Putting clown makeup on. He's like, I'm not here to bring people joy. I'm here to end your life. And it's like, you know, come on, man. Like show don't tell. I don't know.
I was in for that.
Fitting to Mark's comment, I'm reading through CC's hot takes. My favorite so far is, can you imagine the pitch for this? It's like The Purge meets Twisted Metal. Yes, I do mean the one with the ice cream truck.
Yeah, The Purge meets Twisted Metal. I like that a lot. See, if you put it to me that way, I'd be like, okay.
So the release date on this is actually September 16th. And it's funny because I had it on our schedule document and I just didn't read the schedule document. So, but yeah. It's coming.
Mark and I played a lot of Twisted Metal back in the day.
Sure did. It was the first game we played on our PS1.
Twisted Metal 2 also.
It was like a release game with PS1, I feel like. Or if not, it was super close.
Yeah, it was early.
Yeah.
My favorite hot take of CC's is Sherry Moon Zombie, much range, very acting. Wow.
Aw, she seems like a nice lady.
Oh, Sherry Moon.
I wish all movies had numerical titles so that we could have CC write her appropriate number of hot takes on all of them.
She is an actor, man.
Much acting.
Much acting.
Yeah, I don't know. I was more excited about this when I had heard like the description of it than I was when I saw the trailer.
It looks House of a Thousand Corpses-y, which is like, if you're gonna give me Rob Zombie, that's the one I want. I'm like, if of the choices that I have, like, I'm not saying it'd be like my number one.
What if you just not have Rob Zombie?
Well, I mean, you know, you need a little palate cleanser every once in a while.
Well, this one doesn't have any studio involvement, right?
Palate ruiner.
I'm not going with John.
This one doesn't have any studio involvement, right? He's done this one all on his own.
Yes. So
crowdfunding.
One might argue that is either good or
it's a palette.
So this is his make or break it point, is what I'm trying to say, is because the other ones had studio involvement. I remember there's a big hubbub about House of a Thousand Corpses where he had his cut and then the studio wasn't going to release it, and there's all sorts of drama about that because they wanted him to cut it down. So this is where he gets to prove himself because he's got nobody sticking their fingers in the pie.
Yeah, but on some level, like, his thing now, that just doesn't matter. If he made this for no money, then who gives a shit if it's awful and nobody fucking likes it? Because he can always get a few $1 million to make another one.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
but
I mean?
I'm just saying that as far as, like, film fans and Rob Zombie as a horror mastermind, as he's so...
he's got a core audience.
Eloquently titled himself.
I mean, he's got a core audience. Somebody's buying those hats.
I would describe him as a horror mind. I don't know if I would put master in front of it, but he is a mind.
He has a mind for horror. Sure.
Yeah. I actually didn't hate,
Dude, I had Lords of
whatever.
Salem as number 10 in my top 10 of that year. So,
I mean, I didn't hate it. I also didn't think it made any sense, but I liked the premise of it.
Flipper baby devils.
I'm reading an article on cinemablend.com that says that the storyline may have been heavily borrowed from the Uncanny X-Men or several Marvel titles that feature a guy called Arcade, who was like an evil mastermind who used to capture mutants and then make them fight each other in his haunted amusement park style thing.
Yep.
That's
makes sense.
This movie does star Jeff Daniel Phillips, who I originally read as Jeff Daniels. Not the same person. Jeff Daniel Phillips is best known for being the actor that portrayed the Geico caveman.
Nice. I swear I saw Ray
Reprising
Wilson.
Not only
in the commercials or the commercials or the TV show that ate off the commercials.
The TV show. I'm not sure if it's the same person, but not only is he not Jeff Daniels, he's the Geico caveman, which is about as big of a drop as you can go. But
I swore I saw Rainn Wilson too in there, but maybe I'm wrong.
See, but Rainn Wilson's been in Rob Zombies, was in the House of a Thousand Corpses.
Wait, aren't they
It's not that
pals?
big of a stretch.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like to be friends with the Rob Zombie.
Chris Hardwick will tell you all about it. Just listen to any episode of The Nerdist.
Yeah.
I bet he's like a kind of just cool guy.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Hey,
Maybe
you think I'm weird? Dude, you think I'm weird?
Yeah, like
I'm just
Malcolm
I just
McDowell's
wish that he was
character
normal,
in this
dude.
movie is called Father Murder.
At some point, though, like, I just think the shtick would just be too much. Like, dude, are you a person named Rob, or are you Rob Zombie right now? Like, who?
Well, but
am I
that's what I'm saying.
hanging
Like,
out
maybe when he's just like hanging out, he's just like a dude. He's just
Listen, my
Have you
friends
ever-
just
have
call
you-
me
I think
Rob.
regular Rob's come out in some of his interviews before. He seems like he'd be fairly.
No, have you ever read an
low-key.
interview with him? That dude is fucking Rob Zombie all the time.
I mean, interviews.
I've
are
seen
not-
some that he's.
like media interviews for directors aren't exactly the most like, that's not normal person.
He's
behavior.
always sad and talking about how like a clown touched him at the circus when he was a kid, and then like how his dad was a carny and his mom was a stripper, and like it's.
I don't know. I saw one interview somewhere. He seemed pretty down to earth, and he'd even washed his hair. So I don't know.
I don't believe you. So
Man.
All right.
Wow,
Tonight,
shots
This will be
fired.
I have a fever.
prescription is less Rob Zombie.
We're gonna need you to be fully recovered before you watch 31. I think.
Sure,
So
sure.
You have until September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, did you miss the part where I said it stars the Geico caveman?
No, I caught that.
I know how much you love the Geico caveman TV show specifically.
Yeah. Anybody drinking anything fun tonight? Joe's out, so we'll miss our beer recommendation, but
I'm drinking Revolution Pills. from
Sophie's
the
got
great
something
city of
spicy. I
Chicago.
think.
I am drinking Dogfish Head Higher Math, which is 17% alcohol,
Jesus
Ooh.
Christ Almighty!
in honor of The Conjuring because kids can't do math. It works.
Nice.
I still can't.
It's a stretch, but I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Like
Rob
some of
Zombie
your
can't do
words,
math
John.
either. So.
Rob Zombie, goth math.
31 equals 12.
All
The
right.
30. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the 31 I did read has to do with the fact that more people disappear and never are found on Halloween than any other day. So it's actually a Halloween movie.
Oh,
So why he should have just called it Halloween?
I could call it 13. That'd be too
Fair
cheesy.
point, Mark. Fair point.
Or maybe like Clownoween.
Samhain.
So when,
Halloween.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh my
Halloween
god.
with an EA.
Halloween is I think
Halloween.
the clear winner here. I'm into it.
Poor Rob Zombie.
Oh, buddy. He hasn't been around so long. I haven't been able to talk about him. So
It's true.
Yeah.
We haven't been on a hiatus here.
remember when he was in that Wes?
$10
Remember when he was in that Wes Craven movie?
No.
My Soul to Take. He's the villain in that movie.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, remember the guy had like
God.
dreadlocks and a Rob Zombie hat and was like ran.
John, he's not, but the guy looks like him.
Who has a cat?
I was very
All I
confused.
can remember is Magic Blind Kid from that movie.
Whose
Sorry.
whose
Yeah.
cat is that?
I can't tell if it's my cat or my daughter. I'm like tempted to go see what the hell's going on out there because there's a lot of crying, but
Well, we're gonna take a break here, so it's a perfect opportunity.
okay.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break so that we can discuss The Conjuring Part 2.
Jesus wept.
This is Jake Busey. You're listening to the Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
This is it, Senator. There's big breaking TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Oh, just in time, Schnars. Schnars, cat or
wait,
baby?
Hold on. Did you pick that Jake Busey bumper in honor of his birthday yesterday?
No. What? How would I
Jake,
know?
How did you know it was his birthday?
Yeah, how would I know that?
Because I have so many like nerd friends on Facebook. Of course, someone is like, yes, I would like to celebrate Jake Busey specifically.
No, my Facebook's different than yours. Hey, Schnars, was that cat or baby?
It's baby.
Okay.
She's still going.
Baby cat.
She is ready to eat.
Maybe you should get the cat to talk to her, like calm her down.
Shanners,
Yes.
please bring us the word of the day.
You know, I wasn't feeling it, but now I'm feeling it. Today's word is zoetrope.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's a spicy meatball.
Hot.
There you go. A 19th century optical toy consisting of a cylinder with a series of pictures on the inner surface that, when viewed through slits with the cylinder rotating, give an impression of continuous motion.
Ooh, it's the spinny thing
I see
with,
what
the,
you did there.
with the crooked man.
The crooked man thingy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it comes from
Scary.
the Greek zo, meaning life, and tropos, which means turning.
Nice.
Yeah, so there is a zoetrope pretty prominently featured in The Conjuring 2. To much great effect, I would say.
I would also say that.
So,
To be
yeah,
fair,
zoetrope.
it was to great effect. But to be fair, when we watched that, my daughter said that she's seen enough movies with me now that if they have a zoetrope, she didn't use that word, but if they have a zoetrope in a ghost movie, stay away from it.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
I would
also,
think it's
John,
creepy as hell.
credit where credit's due, and I'll be sure to tell Joe this tomorrow because he wasn't here to witness it. I actually could not remember the name of what that thing is, so it was a particularly informative word of the day this week.
Boom.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it's they play an important part in film history as well. So
All right.
it's sort of a meta
John,
term.
I was prepared to call it a Nickelodeon just because I like saying that word.
I think in Nickelodeon's like slightly more advanced version where you had to like
I think
put
there's
it
like a crank involved.
John,
Yes, Eric.
tell me about The Conjuring 2.
It's a movie.
Keep going.
Oh, you want me to? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Tell me all of the
Um,
things about it.
Yeah, so Conjuring 2 takes place after The Conjuring 1, which you may remember from several years ago. It is directed by James Wan. It stars Vera Farmiga. I don't know if we've ever really decided how to say her last name, but that's how I will be saying it. And Patrick Wilson as Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators extraordinaire. And yeah, it's actually the story of the Enfield poltergeist or the Enfield incident, which we discussed at great length only, I don't know, maybe 10 episodes ago when we did Ghost Watch.
Ah.
Yeah, so the story should be relatively familiar. The movie actually opens at the scene of the Amityville murders in the sort of Amityville haunting.
Set up credibility, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. I don't know how much we want to really get into it. Like, we got into it, I think, in the first episode, but like, I actually had no sort of like background into Ed and Lorraine Warren's involvement in either Amityville or this incident. It turns out, I think they were definitely involved in Amityville. They were, I think, somewhat involved. Casey, you sent around an article that I did end up reading about the fact that they kind of like came in a little after the fact. But the Enfield incident was like a pretty popular event in 1970s London. It was kind of like all over the news. Essentially, you had an 11 and a 13-year-old girl who were the quote-unquote victims of a haunting incident. A poltergeist is sort of the way it was described at the time. That's how it was depicted in the Ghost Watch film. In this, it's much sort of, I won't say more complicated, but it's not a straight poltergeist, although there is a lot of smashing of furniture. The younger daughter teleports throughout the house, and it really all kind of centers around an older man who had previously lived at the residence, and this sort of like chair that he died in. And all of that stuff is like more or less given to you pretty upfront, not like immediately, but not too far into the movie. And it's sort of oddly structured because you have all the stuff with the Warrens happening in the U.S., a lot of stuff about Lorraine having seen this vision or premonition at the Amityville site about Ed's death, and then sort of like constantly worrying about what it was and like how that was going to come about. And then they eventually get pulled into this thing going on in London much later in the story. At this point, it's been like months and months of this poltergeist happening, and they get kind of called in by the church to investigate. It's sort of weird to me. Like, the church is like, oh, we won't get involved in this, unless like we're sure that it's real, basically. So you need to go see if this is real.
We're not going to get involved unless the Warrens say it's okay.
Yeah, and that's like really their sort of reason for getting involved, and that kind of sets off the rest of the movie, which is in a lot of ways a straight sort of haunting / exorcism type of thing.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Sure.
Do you want me to keep going? I can tell more things.
Mark,
Yes.
what do you think of this?
Before I answer that, can you give me bullet points from John's synopsis? I just wanted to make sure you were paying
I
attention.
was not.
You dick.
I'm trying to reserve my mental powers tonight for when I need them. So
Sure. Save them up. I liked this movie. I will say that. I really liked The Conjuring, although I admitted over email, I honestly can't remember that much from it, other than the fact that I liked it and thought that it was, a lot of the sort of supernatural movies that we've watched over the past like 8-9 years have been pretty formulaic, and they're usually kind of like PG-13, and there's lots of CGI, and they're pretty by the books. And I thought The Conjuring had this kind of like balls to the wall, old school ghost story feeling to it, and I think that that's mostly present here. I think that the design of the various ghosts and demons were really cool and super memorable, and I think I'm actually gonna probably remember this more than I remember the original Conjuring. I don't have any strong feelings about the Warrens, like the real life Warrens, but I will say that this movie focuses a little bit too much on them for my liking. I really liked the family, and I liked the setting of the family, and I thought that they were really sympathetic, and it kind of gets bogged down by this like just this like really melodramatic stuff they do with the Warrens. So I think that as like a ghost movie, I think it's great. I feel like they could just cut the Warrens out of the whole story, and it probably would have been even better.
Sophie.
So I mostly agree with Mark. I think that, so I really, really loved the original Conjuring, and I remember hearing they were going to do a sequel and being really excited, and then seeing the trailer for this and being a lot less excited. So I went in with very low expectations, and I think that helped my perception of this movie. I think I would have liked it a lot less if I had gone in wanting something more like the first one. And I think that Mark makes a really good point about the whole story with the Warrens. It felt to me, that felt less abrasive to me than the religious overtones felt. It felt like there was a lot of religion in this. And I was reading an interview today with the writers who are both, who are brothers and are religious, about them wanting to write this movie to be an evangelical message movie. And I feel like that was done at the expense of some of the horror stuff, but I still think the horror was handled pretty well. And I love James Wan, so I think that helped the movie, and his directing helped immensely.
Casey.
So I was one of the dissenting voices that wasn't like super in love with the first Conjuring, so my expectations were suitably low going into this one. It's just not one that I really got into, and I can't say I have a history of the Warrens, but I'm familiar with them just because, with my wife's enjoyment of those type of shows and whatnot. I've heard a lot of their history and whatnot, and always I have a hard time turning off that bias against the real life story of the Warrens. So, good. That's the mindset I was going into this. That said, having watched it, it's not a bad movie, and it's definitely not something that's going to make my top 10 list or anything like that. I think it's got some tonal problems. Mark pointed them out. There's two different movies going on here. The love story with the Warrens is just kind of ridiculous, because they even show that there's no strife between the Warrens. So why do we have to play up the love story through them? They're not patching anything together. Their love isn't in question, because he says right at the beginning, I trust you. Of course I trust you. That's all we needed to know. And they could have focused on his family, which was the highlight of the film. So that's my biggest beef with the movie.
Yeah, I remember liking the first Conjuring a lot. We talked sort of a lot about the Warrens and the kind of real life Warrens, and my issues with ghost hunting bullshit is like well documented. But
I know you want to get into it so bad.
No, it's like Casey. Like I just find the whole thing fascinating about how you take these two people and you write these movies, you basically like fucking lionize them and like enter them into like cinematic like, you know, history now as this like really good looking handsome couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then but like, it's really funny if you just sit there and think about what I know these people were actually like. Now picture them saying all this stuff, and it sounds insane. But when it's coming out of Vera Farmiga's mouth, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, the devil painting into the nun, and it's Jesus. That said, like, you know, it's a really entertaining movie. Like, it's really well made. I think James Wan's directing like saves what otherwise would have been a script that would have upset me, because like I just have trouble getting by these things. But his directing is so fucking tight. It's so good. It's scary, like, as Joe would say, butt-clenchingly scary. The little crooked man thing to me, like, scared the shit out of me. Was so well done. Like, I think that it is super weird the way that like these two movies come together. That is one strange thing, and it's like a fault on the fault of the screenwriters. Is
Wait,
feels
it's
like
strange to you the way they do come together?
It feels like two different movies. Like, by the time they come together, you're like, these movies don't even feel like the same thing now. But now these two characters are talking to each other an hour later, you know what I mean? Like, when you're waiting for them to... So it's just, it's very strange. It's oddly paced, but I think that Wan's direction like elevates the material above all of that. And you also have like this great ensemble cast to make like a really good horror movie that I think is actually better than the original in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree with like most everything you're saying. I think I'm maybe I'm the lowest on this movie of the group. I mean, so much of the script is just completely unnecessary, and
it's too long.
It's way too long. I mean, the movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Way too long.
Which is an insane runtime for a horror movie, especially a haunting one. I think they do, and I mentioned this over email, and no one explicitly responded, so I'm going to make you guys respond now. But like, I
don't even read your emails.
I thought it was super interesting that they like essentially didn't show on screen a lot of the sort of like core beats of the haunting movie. Like, they almost took for granted that you knew like a lot of the stuff that was happening. And I'm specifically talking about mostly the end of the movie where like they show up and it's like you're fully like they I mean, we're kind of like getting toward the very end, but like the Warrens leave because they feel like it's been shown that they were faking. But then they realized they weren't faking, you know, on their way.
It was a faking.
Yeah. And so they hustle back. And at that point, like, we're just like fully into the like insanity. And what's crazy is like, they don't go through any of the beats of the like exorcism. They literally just jump to like the final scene at that point.
Yeah, I think
I like that. I feel like.
I mean, it's startling because it's long. I know exactly what I totally agree with you. Because they actually start off with the haunting stuff. You know, even when you're talking about those beats, like a lot of times there's like, oh, a picture falls off the wall or like a door opens. And usually that is like the first half of the movie. That's like the first 15 minutes of this movie. Yeah. And then it's full on like old man ghost, crooked man ghost, nun ghost, you know, like, or demon or whatever. And you're right that by the time the Warrens show up, they're like, well, shit, we need to figure out his name. Okay. And then like they figure out the name and it's like, Ed. That's it.
my favorite like moment.
Least, I mean, for better or for worse, there's usually a lot more sort of pomp and circumstance over that. Even if the inevitable conclusion is that they need to find out the name, there's usually some way that you get there. And in this, it's like, they just like Kramer their way in the door and they're like, shit, gotta get the name, and then just kind of go.
My favorite moment is like they early on there was a lot of lip service paid in interviews about this, about how we're gonna, you know, they were saying we were gonna address the controversy of the Warrens, because I don't know, maybe I was shouting about it so loud that somebody heard me somewhere. But
that's what it was.
But it's possible. But so what that manifested into is this scene early on where they're on like a talk show, and this like perfectly rational sounding dude is like, "Hey, there's no fucking evidence, and you guys just make shit up, and this is the worst." And then Ed just gets like indignant. And he's like, "Nah, man. He's like, what are you, like a scientist or something?" He's like, "What do you know?"
The best part is they don't even show the scene. They then cut that and they jump to him and the wife,
and he's so mad.
so much of this movie, and it's a couple of you guys hit on this, and Sophie, you mentioned like the writers and sort of having potentially like coming at it from a more, traditional Christian or evangelical angle. Like so much of this really is about their relationship and like the love they have for each other, and like it's inflected with the sort of like Christian overtones, but it's not like out and out religious. Like they're not like embracing and like talking about Jesus or anything, but it very much is a movie about their relationship. And that's where I say like so much of the like haunting stuff gets cut out, instead showing their reactions to the haunting or their sort of like fear for one another having to do with haunt. Even the like bit about him getting into the house and them getting locked out, and then Lorraine is like, we have to break down this door so I can get in there to help it, like all that stuff. It was so strange.
Ed Warren
They
seems
do
like
that
a
a lot too.
God-fearing
They
man.
gloss over. They make big time jumps a lot, which is frustrating because this is a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
and they could have explored a lot of that stuff, but they gloss over it because there was like a time once the church came to the Warrens and sent them to London. It seemed like there was probably at least 2 weeks that passed or something where stuff was escalating, and now all of a sudden that room's all blocked off. There's crosses all over the wall in the room. The furniture's tossed all over everywhere. We don't know how it got there.
I will say my favorite part of this entire movie, and I'm sort of being sarcastic, but also a little serious, is when the cops show up and the furniture just starts moving around, and they're like, "Fuck this!" And it's just like that never. That was like
we
kind
can't
of
handle this.
An interesting thing that this movie did that a lot of haunting movies don't do, where usually it's like someone shows up who's skeptical and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it always happens. Like it happens in, obviously they like kind of play with like, are they playing it up? Is it a trick or whatever? But like even the news interview, kind of every situation where they're confronted with someone who's cynical, it's just like very out and out happens. It's like there's a body there, there's a person there, there's like shit being thrown around.
It's super weird to me that they chose this specific incident to do for the second film, because like and to your point, Mark, like this was like a huge event in London, like just based on like if you read about it a little bit, like it was on the cover of like their newspapers and shit. And so like, yeah, a lot of people believe them, and like they have to make it look like that in the movie or make it believable that people were acting that way. So
if I were to edit this movie, you know what the first scene I would get rid of is, John? A 5-minute scene of Ed Warren singing an entire Elvis song with a fucking guitar.
That's kind of where
Scene
my
one,
entire
cutting room
my
floor.
entire point about the Warrens in this movie, like the only purpose that, so like you see this kind of premonition in the beginning, and then so much of the movie is spent to try to get you to like drum up sympathy for Ed Warren. And like, I feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like my recollection of Lorraine in the first movie was very much like she is in this, where like she's just like, I don't want to do it anymore, this is like too much for me, whatever. So they don't really give her anything, and then this whole movie, it's just like you're like prematurely eulogizing Ed Warren.
Well, but she's the one with the visions, so she like carries the burden of like having to see the things.
They're just, the portrayals are so.
I love that song.
The portrayals are so like positive and like fetishizing that it makes you wonder if the screenwriters were like Ned and Doreen Schwarren or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the way literally these people are. Like you spend all this time just learning about how fucking awesome they are, and like this greatest generation, like Ed's down fixing shit.
I'd be curious because Lorraine Warren's still alive. Ed Warren died in 2000.
Can we check her IMDb page?
But Lorraine's still alive, so I'd be curious on if to be able to use their names and stuff and tie them to this franchise, that they had to agree to a certain amount of glorification.
I mean, she had a cameo in the first movie.
Oh.
And I think, so I hate to harp on this point, but I'm gonna go back to like reading interviews with the screenwriters, specifically this one interview. That I think that where this fetishizing of the Warrens comes from is the Warrens are being touted as these very, very faithful people who were able to defeat the powers of evil, whatever you want to call them. because of their religion. And I feel like there was so many weird scenes of Ed Warren talking about his crucifix and them praying and all this nonsense.
Yeah, you're getting Eric really wound up right now.
No, it's so weird. It's like
Because
it's a lot of
the
it.
interview by the interviewer asked them by saying, is it possible for someone to use this film to start a spiritual conversation? And the screenwriter said, absolutely, it has already happened. We were approached by a couple of youth ministers at a convention who told us that they started showing this film to their youth groups and then discussing them afterwards.
So wait, you're talking about you're talking about the Conjuring?
Oh. Either this one or the first
like
one.
so like it's hard not to watch one of these movies honestly and be like, there's some kind of an agenda to this screenwriting, and that's a super weird thing to think about, like a really successful horror movie, and it's odd, right? Like, and the thing that annoys me is like I know people that won't go to see these movies because like they believe in fucking possession and like ghosts and demons and shit, and they think this is real and they don't want to get haunted at the movie.
If you ever see a spooky nun,
I'm not going to
call a cross in her face.
I'm not going to call this person out, but like that kind of like disingenuous marketing plus insane screenwriting, like it encourages that kind of shit.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, so like I'm gonna bring it back to the movie for like a second, and then we can go wherever. But like the thing, and no, because Eric, I think, was the one who made this point over email, and I wanted to make sure we talk about it because like what bothers me the most about this is like at the end of the movie, you literally have been basically like led to care more about Ed Warren and whether or not he was going to survive this incident, which you knew he was, than the girl and the family whose lives had been completely destroyed.
Right.
You know? It's
right. Well, and
they're poor,
honestly, you can't... and I think you credited Eric with my email, John.
Oh, that was your email, Mark. I deeply apologize.
The other thing is, like, it stands to me in such stark contrast because the family, you could not cast and write a more sympathetic family.
Right.
It's like they're a poor family, single mother, 4 kids who are like the most adorable little British children ever that are
and
like
one had a stutter.
One had a stutter.
Damn near an Annie movie.
Little guy.
Like there's a scene like after Ed Warren tells them they have to stick together, where like the little boy in the family is like, I'm gonna go take it to this ghost because we have to stick. It's like they were like the cutest, most wonderful little family, and like I love that about this movie. But so, then you know, to get back to John's point, like when the shit hits the fan, it's like, fuck all these adorable little poor kids. What's happening with Ed Warren? Like, what? No, tell me what's happening.
I have to say one somewhat mean-sounding thing about the family that like kind of really bugged me.
You didn't like that they were poor?
No, the house though
of course.
was so poorly kept. Like, can we talk about the fact that
John,
the fucking basement was like
flooded,
completely underwater? Like,
John, not everybody can pay people to come and fix their basements for them.
It was the late 70s, and they were poor.
It was England.
My wife, when we're watching it, she's like, the knob's right there on that pipe. She couldn't turn it.
Everything was so moldy and like dusty and beaten up, and
well, it's.
Like, I will say, to John's point, that wasn't exceptionally
scrub the wall flooded. A little bit, like.
Am I correct?
Flooded basement. It was like a swimming pool. Like I don't even think basements flood that much.
No.
Am I correct in thinking that these were kind of like a project type, the projects or something?
You know, I don't know enough about the actual case.
Oh, you don't know about the project, John?
Like it did kind of, it like could have been like public housing type thing.
Because she talked about how her husband bought it and came with all the furniture and everything.
Well, because the one like government
was saying something. They were council houses, and remember there was that one woman saying she's doing this as a publicity stunt to get a nicer house. So I think it was some kind of public assistance housing.
I would say
that's what it was. Council houses.
I
what
can
they called
still clean the walls every once in a while. Like you're allowed to do that.
I love.
Maybe you can't do that if you're a single mother with 4 kids, and one of them has a stutter.
Yeah, John.
Sophie, give up cigarettes for biscuits.
I believe John has been
Cigarettes
thoroughly.
for Biscuits is a great band name, by the way.
John has been thoroughly humbled by Sophie. So, I will say the actress who played the mother, super awesome, super sympathetic. I loved the little daughter. I think Mark's right. Like it is funny. You could not have had like a better cast of sympathetic family. But right, you spend most of the movie jumping back and forth, like Ed and Lorraine Warren in America, them in London, and like it's it's so weird because you're gone sometimes from the other story for so long that when you go back, you're like, oh, there's like this whole other fucking part of the movie.
I mean, they quite literally send the remaining 3 children out of the movie for like a fucking hour.
Yeah.
Like they're like,
Yeah.
you're too helpful and you're too cute and you're too relevant to the story. Get the fuck out of
Well,
here.
exactly. It did feel like that's where like it comes back to like them kind of short circuiting a lot of the actual haunting stuff. It's like, nah, just don't worry about these other kids. Like the mom
Well,
and
when
dad are
Ed
gonna
says
absorb.
that the kids should come back, that's when the kids came back
Yeah.
so that he could sing them a beautiful
That's-
Elvis.
Well,
song.
he is the man, Mark. He is in charge. So
I mean, I
I
don't,
did
you know,
like their attempt at humor there, though, when he asked if there's any records or something. She's like, "No, my husband took them all when he left." She's like, "No, literally took them all," and he's like, "Oh, there's no chance of him coming back or reconciling." And she's like, "Oh no, he had twins with the lady around the corner." I'll take that as a no.
yeah, they really missed the opportunity for like a record, like the record player just doesn't work. They miss an opportunity for it like playing backwards or something.
he's
know?
just so sincere,
Yes.
or he's so like, I don't know what the word is. He's just creepy because he's like humorless in a way, and like the two of them,
It's like Mr. Poppins.
the whole movie, I'm just trying to decide like what is this film trying to convey to me or like tell me about the Warrens, and it's all over the place, right?
Well, I think
Like,
no. I think Sophie's right. I'm very much now bought into the fact that this is like essentially a film about the power of faith.
Christ.
I can send you this interview if you want.
I do
They
not
pretty
want
much
to-
explicitly
You know what
say
sucks
it.
is like
So-
I watched the movie and really liked it, and like I know I'm complaining about it a lot. It's like I think a really well directed, drawn horror movie, and but this stuff just like is
All right,
is,
but
I hate
like
it.
let's do serious talk then about James Wan, because I agree with you, and I actually do think that this was pretty, like I'll say pretty well directed. Again, the 2 hour and 18-minute runtime should
Yeah.
disqualify him in a lot of ways. So he's now done Insidious and Insidious 2. I don't think he did the third one, and he did both of the Conjuring movies, I believe.
He did
right?
Furious 7. Important.
Yeah. But no, my point is like, so he's done a bunch of these horror movies recently, basically the 2 Insidious and the 2 Conjuring movies, all of which though are like really formulaic in this like ghost huntery way, right? Like because the Insidious movies also center around, isn't it? What are they called? Like X versus Sever or whatever. What are the two guys?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what they call them.
The Further Twins.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And Lin Shay, of course.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. So like, I'd like to see him do something that's not
Well, the thing
this
that
now.
the reason why it works with him is because he's just really good.
Yeah.
He watched like all the 70s good ghost scary movies, and he fucking knows those beats like the back of his hand, like the slow zooms, the plays with light and shadow, and like jumping into the frame, having things be in the frame, and then then they're revealed. Like he has that language of film thing down so much, and I feel like in each of these movies what he does do is he kind of he springboards on what he's done before. Like this, I saw new tricks in this movie, you know what I mean?
Well,
but like
the other thing
at the end of the
too
day
that I
it is
think
very like predictable.
it can't be overstated is like honestly the creature design in these movies, no matter, like I imagine a lot of that's him, but if you think of like the I can't remember, he's got a name, but like the Darth Maul demon thing from Insidious, and like like the nun in this movie, and also the Crooked Man, those it's different than like, well, let's put some white makeup and a dirty nightgown on like a skinny woman, and that is spooky, like it's there's like just a little extra pinch of thought put into these these beings that are supposed to be like haunting.
But I'm with John
and
because like his first two Insidious movies, they're very similar to each other. The Conjuring 1 and 2 are very similar to each other. Even though they're taking on similar topics and settings and stuff, the Insidious movies are different enough from the Conjuring movies coming from him that he's done something different with them. But like John said, though, I want to see him doing something different. He does so much with the creature design in these movies, because like the Crooked Man in this movie, that's been all over the internet about how that was all practical effects.
So
it's actually a
good.
dude that's like 6'7" and walks jerky like that. I want to see James Wan do a monster movie. I think he could do something cool with it, and he's got to get away from the ghosts for a bit, though.
I mean, I would watch a lot. So he's announced that he's going to direct Aquaman and then Robotech. So Yeah. So I mean, like, we'll see. I'm not neither of those. I'm like, yay, this is going to be some creative, masterwork.
Yeah.
But could be interesting.
Aquaman.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like I had a really good time with this movie. I do wish it was a lot shorter, but what are you gonna do?
Would you say that you enjoy? Do you enjoy these more than the Insidious movies?
It's a good question. I mean, Insidious. I was talking about this like pre-show, but I always try to like chastise people who try to blame Scream for all the stuff that came after Scream, because I think that's unfair, and I think Scream's like an incredible film. But it's like I find myself doing it with Insidious, even though like I'm still one of Insidious like biggest supporters. But like, oh my god, it's kind of fucking ruined horror for like 7 years, because now all we see is that stuff, and every time one of these movies makes $80 million, we're just guaranteed like 5 more years of the same rote fucking bullshit possession ghost stories.
This movie has made over 100 million total, but it made 53 million
so that
domestic.
So that kind of bums me out. I think overall, like Insidious 1 and 2 are probably stronger than Conjuring 1 and 2, but they came first.
But like to your point, talking about how Insidious is kind of, I would say James Wan and his Insidious movies are kind of like a landmark in horror, like Scream was. Because I mean, hell, that's practically Blumhouse's entire business model.
Yeah,
this was not. Blumhouse did not touch this movie apparently.
No, but all their movies.
Now, like Casey's saying, like you can see, you can see their influence now through that stuff.
Yeah.
Eric, how are you saving up one big Wanaverse for? I'm surprised I haven't heard you say it. This is quite literally the Wanaverse.
I forgot I coined the Wanaverse.
I saw a mention, like, and it was probably just some like clickbait title, but maybe they're thinking about doing like a Crooked Man movie.
That I would watch.
Which, Crooked Man's fucking scary.
Well, I was gonna ask, what's to do with the Crooked Man? Like, that's like a real thing.
That was what was in the Zoetrope.
So we were talking about it like on Twitter, because I thought it looked like actual stop motion to me, which I thought would have been really cool. And then one of our fans was like, "Oh no, it was like terrible CGI." And then James Wan was like tweeting about how nope, it's this actor dude, and he posted a picture.
No, that's a person.
It's just a big creepy.
How dare you?
It's a big creepy actor guy with some like prosthetic makeup on.
It's apparently a real nursery rhyme from the 1840s.
Yeah.
Although it's probably older than that. That's when it was first written down.
That's about how old that Zoetrope looked.
Yeah.
But it's not unheard of that they would throw out a Crooked Man movie off of this. They did the same thing with Annabelle.
No, I think the fucking Crooked Man stuff was the best part of the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that maybe was like Crooked Man Goes to College.
That scene with the dog turning into the Crooked Man.
Oh,
I was gonna say, like, you mentioned like this being really scary. To me, it was pretty scary. There were some outrageous jump scares. Like straight up, just
you gotta go with it now, though. These days,
well, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys over email. I went and saw this in Annapolis. We were visiting my in-laws. I went to a theater. It was in their main theater, so it was about 500 seats. I was the only person in the theater.
I was at my normal like 11 a.m. screening, and there were 2 giant groups of teenagers in my theater, and I was like, "What? This is why I'm here right now. So you're not here."
Yeah.
So, like, as far as the movie goes, though, John, like, to what you're talking about with the ridiculous jump scares, I remember, like, one of the only things I remember saying or, like, feeling about The Conjuring was that the original was that it had this sort of kitchen sink approach where, like, it wasn't necessarily the same thing that was always coming at you, but there was just, like, always shit coming at you. And I feel like, with the exception of the, like, Warren sidebar, that was the case in this movie. And, like, they flipped the switch 15 minutes into the movie. Like, there was no, like, is something happening? It's like, no, something is like definitely fucking happening, and it's not gonna stop happening until the movie.
The sequence with the fucking kid, with the boy, the brother, when he like gets out of his bed, and I'm just like, just go back to your bed, dude. Like, I don't know, whatever you're doing. Well, and my whole point was, when you're alone in a theater that big, there's no like sort of more shame that you feel in a theater than like straight jumping, like just being like, because
but if you're alone in the theater, you're also free to piss
Dude,
yourself.
the moment for me was like,
except for the 2 guys in the camera booth that are laughing at him. Look at that guy.
The moment for me was like when the first, like, because the Crooked Man is just like in the Zoetrope, and they're, like, ooh, that's creepy, and then there's a moment where something weird happens with it, and then out of nowhere you hear his voice, and it's like all scratchy. He's like, "Oh, I'm the Crooked Man." I was like, "Fuck!" Like I jumped fucking like out of my seat and crap my pants.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, they're like audio jump scares. A couple of them. Like there was one where it was literally just like a horn. It was like an air horn. It's like.
To be honest, though, after that scene where the kid got up for the first time in the fire truck, the toy fire truck, he's in the hallway going to the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
The fire truck came out, he picked
Holy
it up,
shit.
threw it under there. Then he goes back to his bed and he keeps looking down the hallway and you see that tent there. If I was that kid's parent, it's the first time I came out to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw that tent there, that tent would be coming down.
Yeah,
that kid too, his bed, like, I don't know if anybody else has strong feelings about this, but that kid's bed, like, is in the worst possible, like, position for, like, being scared as a kid, because he can't, he's close enough to the door to not be able to get away, but he can't see what's out the doorway. Like, you always have to have view of the doorway so that you can fucking look to see what's there.
Eric, a lot of thought.
Oh,
Well,
God.
he didn't have a wall behind his head.
And I slept when I was a kid.
Odd placement.
When I was a kid, I slept with the door shut because, like, I couldn't handle the hallway being, like, open. Like, there's no dice. It's no good. But I remember when
there were a good many demons in our house.
when I was a younger man, I was living in an apartment and woke up in the middle of the night with a TV flipping on, like in an apartment like that where it was really long and it was like across the apartment and it was static because it was like the fucking 90s. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. I had to get up and walk all the way across the apartment to turn it off in the dark.
Crooked Man.
Crooked Man. That's who it was.
Hey guys, good news. There is a movieguide.org.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Oh, God bless America. Thank you for remembering. You guys talk among yourselves.
Dude,
Here,
even
I'll
this
ping
little,
it to you, my friend.
even this little
You'll
picture,
ping it to me? Look at you.
even this little picture here, the Crooked Man, creepy.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Ed's gonna get him with his cross that his pappy gave him, I think.
Ed,
I hate
Do you
Don't
think
give
if
it to
they
you.
do you think if they made a Crooked Man movie, especially looking at that picture that you just sent out, they do you think though that they would stick with that original guy to play the Crooked Man, or would they hire Doug Jones? Because he's always the tall, skinny, lanky dude.
Isn't it kind of like a little bit stealing from or kind of hedging onto the Babadook corner?
the Babadook.
It's a little Babadookish.
the Babadook. No, Mark, it's the Babadook.
The Babadook.
You know what?
I'm gonna really date myself now, but when the first time they showed the Crooked Man, I was like, that looks just like an animation graphic from a used music video when I was in middle school.
There you go.
And I couldn't stop thinking it every time they showed it.
You know
what
what's
music
So
I thought maybe
Muse, you're dating yourself from a Muse music video.
No,
You're
The
dating me.
Used. The used.
Oh, the used. Okay, I thought you said Muse. I'm like, holy shit.
I just want to say,
When
like,
I was a hella emo kid.
just to wrap it up, like, there's something kind of just odd that I can't get my mind off of the idea of, like, the thing about horror and horror fans is that I think we like to think of ourselves as, like, a really inclusive group. We all feel like kind of misfits in our own way, and so we come together and we all enjoy this thing that sort of gives us this, like, shared joy, right? And, like, I think we're all pretty, like, socially liberal in a lot of ways, very accepting, and, like,
speak for yourself.
well, just bear with me.
Trump 2016.
My point being, like, it really kind of sucks for me to hear of, like, a film script, like, with a kind of evangelical bent meant to have that message, because to me, like, that's so, I gotta give him credit, it's subversive as hell to, like, use the genre vehicle for that kind of a message, but, like, personally, it's not the kind of thing that I think should be in horror movies.
But religion
yeah,
has
but
always been in
I was
horror
gonna say,
But there's a difference between
if it
just
makes
showing-
you feel any better, this movie totally failed to me in delivering the message. So, as long
It's just
not-
bizarre. It's such a weird, I don't know. I find it really weird, especially, like, the one of the biggest horror franchises there is right now.
it's I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where if you didn't notice, then who gives a shit, right?
that's a good.
Like-
It's not like the
You didn't go home and start
Jennifer-
talking about traditional marriage and
Not
like,
like the
not
Jennifer
allowing
Garner-
Muslims.
I
into the
still
country, did you?
don't like it, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think they beat it. They beat you over that bad over the head with it.
It's not as bad as the Jennifer Garner movie where her daughter falls from a tree and is cured of cancer.
By hitting her head.
No, but like it's interesting to me because I had issues with the way that the Warrens' relationship kind of overpowered this movie, and that at least gives me a framework to explain why they did that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I like dislike. I honestly don't dislike the movie any more than I did, but I do find it interesting.
It's just weird. It's weird. Hey, Mark, you want to read the movie guide?
Oh, I would love to. Speaking of evangelicals,
they should be psyched.
For those of you who have been asleep at the wheel, not paying attention, Movie Guide is a website that reviews movies for their objectionable content, and every time we have a theatrical release, we have a good little time reading about all of the potentially offensive things in the movie, offensive from a Christian evangelical perspective. So
that's right.
Conjuring 2 features strong Christian biblical worldview of fighting against a supernatural evil, and the only power shown over evil is the name of the Holy Trinity. Woman reads her Bible. Christian Christmas carols are played throughout. Woman says the demon is trying to attack her faith, and her husband says her visions are a gift from God. Husband also tells boy, God will be there for all who need. And biblical and moral messages about family, love, and marriage, with some borrowing from occult practices such as channeling. And children use a Ouija board, which is the start of their demonic oppression. And an old man's spirit haunts the house. And some theologically weak elements where crosses and chants are used more as a weapon against demons and less of an emphasis on a personal relationship with Jesus. That is really split hairs. 4 light obscenities, 5 light profanities. So what is the difference between a light obscenity and light profanities?
I would call fuck a heavy profanity.
And like, British slang like bloody and wanker.
Wanker is a light profanity, yeah.
Moderate violence includes woman sees a vision of a man who shot his whole family while they were sleeping. Some blood spatter, a vision of a man being impaled by a branch, very scary images of demonic possession and oppression. A girl is possessed and speaks in a low, raspy voice. A demon with a disturbing face.
Scary.
Yeah. A demon with a disturbing face wearing a nun outfit haunts characters. Furniture is thrown across the house. A girl levitates. Multiple people are bitten by a demon. And many scary images. No sex scenes, but a reference to a man's affairs. Hello. No nudity, no alcohol use, no drug use. Young girl smokes a cigarette but gets in trouble. And a schoolboy calls a girl a lesbo.
But she didn't smoke it.
Remember, if she smokes, she pokes.
She wanted to look cool.
They seem to like the movie. Really like this movie. Yeah, it's interesting though, and we didn't talk about this. This was rated R, right?
R for Jesus.
Rated R for really fucking loud noises.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's a weird choice, right? To go R, like they could have easily gotten this to a PG-13.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it's like weird given the supposed message, but like, it is. I guess it's interesting to see what warrants an R, because there's actually not a lot of like profanity in this. I guess it's just too scary to be PG-13.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's what it is.
Which is kind of crazy to me, because it's like, and I don't
There's
know.
not even blood. That literally they mentioned in the movie guide that the opening scene is her like sort of channeling the Amityville killer and him shooting his family, and that's like all the blood in the movie that I can think of.
Yeah. And it's like even weird, like skipping, stop. It's like weird. It's not even like explicit either.
No.
Even her visions of Ed getting impaled by a tree wasn't bloody.
No.
The little crooked
It's a very
man.
Clean tree impaling.
It is, but like I do wonder, Mark, having read that now, I don't know what like mainstream horror movie they could possibly get on board with if they can't get on board with this.
They seem not too bad with it.
Well, that's what's interesting, and maybe John, your whole point about like not picking up on the message, maybe we are not the people who are meant to pick up on the message. Because it seems like seems like they've really. I mean, it's the whole focus of their website to latch on to stuff like that, like the way that prayer and symbols and crosses and shit are used.
It's one of their main complaints with most movies is that problems are solved without prayer.
Yeah, they're the ones.
See, that makes the whole evangelical angle though with these screenwriters and their message and stuff that they talk about. That makes more sense in the context that they are writing it. That writing a horror movie for people like them that they can enjoy and not be offended by.
Movie Guide's
like the owner of Movie Guide.
Yeah, they're picking up the dog whistle, basically.
That guy at Movie Guide's gonna love this shit.
Yeah. Hey, Joe's on Skype. Should I add him?
Sure.
Go ahead
Roll
and try.
the dice.
Let's see what happens. All right, guys. Is Joe there? He's probably over there panicking right now.
Live.
Oh.
We'll do it live.
I heard a voice.
Joe.
No, I didn't mean to fucking accept this.
Joe straight doesn't have his pants on right
Hey,
now.
Joe.
2 different calls?
All right, we'll hang up on Joe. Okay. All right, guys. Let's
I'm
take a
just
quick,
glad I got to see Joe's avatar with that disgusting mustache.
Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Wait, you gonna ask us how I feel about the movie?
How do you feel about the movie, Mark?
I say that if you should go see it. It's good.
Schnars.
I'm gonna say thumbs down.
Casey.
Matinee.
Sophie.
I would wait for the DVD.
I'm gonna say thumbs up, but wait for the DVD. Don't give these Jesus people more of your money right now. Okay?
You're now we're anti-Jesus.
Make them wait.
I wouldn't have brought it up if I thought we were going to get anti-religious people.
Make them wait for it. All right, guys, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Sally, I hear something. Stop!
This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Tromeo and Juliet and Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, the Troma team likes to kick back and listen to Bloody Good Horror, because Bloody Good Horror is the best television there is.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back.
Serious question
Back for fan mail.
Serious question for Eric and or Sophie, who mentioned watching this on DVD. Do you actually still watch DVDs?
Yeah, I do. Occasionally, actually, I watched something on DVD this weekend. I can't remember what it was. I mean, I don't own every movie streaming, and I don't have Blu-rays, a lot of them, so.
I donated most of my DVDs, so someone who was shopping at Goodwill has like a real weird DVD collection now.
Does that make me? Does that make me a plebe, Schnars?
Yeah, I've actually been buying Blu-rays lately.
What?
Schnars, does that make me a plebe because I still watch DVDs?
No, I would actually say that's probably like a more expensive way to consume.
I just still have a lot of old ones that I kept.
Yeah. So I have a ton of
laser
old ones.
discs.
No,
I do not have a way to watch them right now. Is my challenge. So
put them in your Blu-ray player.
Eric, I was gonna text you this, but it's totally unrelated. But I saw a vinyl soundtrack for Coven at a record store the other day.
That's cool.
Also known as Coven.
Yeah. No, man, because Coven's like oven.
Coven's like oven. It wasn't actually so like. Sorry, this is like I'm off on a tangent, but like
as long as it's COVID related, I'm okay with it.
Mondo like started as a t-shirt company, and they do like screenings at Alamo Drafthouse and stuff. Started a record company called Death Waltz Records that do all these awesome soundtracks. So if you see like, I'll flash my Phantasm soundtrack randomly on TV, and the soundtrack I was talking about wasn't one of theirs, but they have like lots of amazing soundtracks that are coming out.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool.
Do they do their vinyl albums like they do with the posters and stuff, where it's like a lottery and you have to buy it within a certain window? Or
They're not like that limited, but I have tried to buy posters and failed miserably before. It's they've kind of figured out this niche where they like drum up a lot of hype about stuff, and then shit just like disappears. So
yeah.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up, Chris. He really liked The Conjuring 2, wanted to let us know. He also says, did anyone get the Lights Out trailer before the movie started? Probably the most butt-clenching trailer I've ever seen. Yours truly, Chris from Orlando. I can't decide if I hate that movie or if it looks interesting, that like Lights Out movie.
I did not get it, I don't think.
It's a lot of like
I've seen the
flipping.
trailer, but I didn't get it in this movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of flipping light switches on and off, and then a ghost is closer.
Wait, have you got okay? Wait, have you all seen the short film that this is coming from?
No.
Have any of you
Yes.
seen it?
Yes,
Okay.
I have. Is that the one where like the really fucking creepy thing appears by the like dresser
By
on
her-
the side of the,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So the short film is amazing. I don't know why they felt the need to make it into a full-length movie.
Well, the funny thing
The
is,
entire
like,
premise of the short film is just flipping lights on and off, and then like eventually.
Well,
Right.
but it's like a
And now
testament.
they're like, we should put a whole backstory as to why it works. And it's like, no, it would just be fine if you left it as a 3-minute video.
It's a testament to like what we're talking about, though, where like you're watching the trailer and I expect it to be a James Wan film, or inspired by a real James Wan movie.
You should all watch the short if you haven't seen it. It's really fantastic.
Inspired by the turning on and off of lights.
Yeah. And how that's
Based on a
creepy.
true story.
Light switches. How do they
Literally
work?
everyone that has lights.
That's it for fan mail. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com's email address. We're also on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtags AskBGH and BGH Classic with an S.
Can someone else drum up BGH classics while I look at the Ask BGHs, please?
Yeah, stand by.
Yes, someone else can do that.
Yeah, so this first one is from Ben Ecker, also a writer out of the Bloody Good Horror. After the last episode, I will always assume Joe follows each podcast/drinking session immediately with sex and a good cry. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
The question was like, what do you like to do when you're drunk? And Joe's like, I like to make love.
Oh, right, that's right. Feel like making love. All right, so next one's from B. Laster. Are you guys taking I-95? If so, y'all should stop by and meet me for dinner. I don't know. I think that was maybe someone was... Oh, was that John? So I don't know. Oh, it was in response to Southbound. We sit down to talk Southbound. Because we tweeted that we were going to see it. And then
I've driven
did not.
I-95 a few times in my life down to Florida. It's a scary, weird, backwoodsy drive.
Hey.
In the past week, I drove
Sorry.
down 65 and 75, which are similarly terrifying.
I
live right off 95.
Oh, really? I worked with a dude who drove down through Georgia in the 70s before they finished I-95, and he had to go through all these little small towns. And
before they finished Georgia?
He was in a van. He got pulled over by a cop who wouldn't let him go because he knew he had drugs on him somewhere.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he did, coincidentally, but...
I saw a hashtag secede billboard on the way down the Florida.
Nice. What state are you in, Sophie?
What's that?
What?
What state are you in, Sophie?
Delaware?
Oh, is that the one you're in for like 20 minutes when you're on 95?
Yeah.
Yeah, 95 just goes to the very top corner of it.
Right.
That's why I'm going to the music festival in Delaware this weekend.
Oh.
I mean, 95, like north of, like where the north is fine because you actually get like rest stops and there's like it's taken care of. As soon as you get anywhere down south, it's like, well, now I'm just in the swamp and there's no lights and there's no rest stops.
My junior year of college, so I went to college in Florida, and every year I would go to and from school, I would drive straight through. And my junior year, there had been a hurricane that came up the East Coast, and I left the next day, and I almost had to stop 2 hours into my drive because all of the exits south of me had no power, so I couldn't fill my gas tank because none of the gas stations had electricity.
Oh. Yeah, it's like,
that's scary.
I don't mind.
It was horrifying. It was like, oh, so now I can go to a motel with no electricity and
like,
just wait until tomorrow.
I don't mind paying my taxes if that means there's going to be a fucking rest stop for me to stop at on the highway.
I will say, if you live in Tennessee, I've never really driven through Tennessee until recently, and the roads were quite nice. The roads that I was on in Tennessee. So.
Well, good for Tennessee, Mark.
Yeah,
You're talking specifically about the quality of the roads.
I'm talking about the real South.
Yeah, lots of just driving through.
Are you trying to say Tennessee's not the real South?
No,
Have you been to Tennessee?
I just figure if we're gonna take a shit on the entire South, we may as well say something nice about someone.
I have taken a number 2 at south of the border at 3:00 in the morning. I've seen things. I know places.
Who hasn't?
My favorite feature of South on the Border is that the bathroom stalls are concrete and go all the way to the floor
down,
to prevent illicit activity.
It's true.
Or just, make it more difficult. Next one is from Sharon Official. What do you mean your Southbound episode? You worked on it?
Yeah, we did the movie and like we were a day a day out from recording, and I started getting really, really sick, and we just ended up canceling. And it's over a week later, and I'm still sick. So.
To be fair, that tweet came in before we canceled that episode, so I'm not even sure that that's what that was pertaining to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we should talk about it at some point. I don't know. I watched it, and some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, Gardner7001. What do you guys think of the Netflix series Stranger Things? Not sure if it's horror, but it looks horror-esque.
I haven't seen it.
I am stoked.
I don't know anything about it.
Can you tell us about it?
So it's a new series. It's a new TV series. I think it's going to be 10 to 12 episodes. It looks very Spielbergian mixed with Erie, Indiana, and it actually takes place in Indiana.
I really like Indiana.
Yeah. It's got Winona Ryder in it.
This thing.
Yep.
It's a house where there's a trailer out there. It's about 2.5 minutes. There's something that's going on with Winona Ryder's kid, it looks like, and lots of lights. Looks like it could be alien-esque and stuff. And then there's another girl that comes back who appears from nowhere. I think she was formerly missing. She's got some information on where the kid may be, and that's kind of where the base is on it. Seems like it's very, I say kid-centric, but not in the fact that it's a kid's show. It's like kind of like Explorers or something like that from back in the day. Very adventure-y. It looks pretty cool. It's got some creepy sides to it.
I really liked Erie, Indiana. That show's cool.
I think you guys should check out the trailer because I know, Eric, I'm positive you probably dig it.
Cool.
Sweet. Next one is from Whitney Lynn Art. How did Eric feel about the amount of money and the house that this family had?
I felt better about it than Schnars did, apparently. I don't know.
That's the real question.
But I did spend a lot of the movie.
Wash your walls.
I did spend a lot of the movie being like, this house is so moldy and filthy and man, that's a bummer.
Eric would have been having some allergy situations.
God, I would be dead.
Yeah.
I think it's funny we complain about how glossy shit is, and then when they really show us a grimy house, we're like, ew, no, clean it.
It was too grimy.
Mark, there's a happy middle ground, which is just a normal house.
What Schnars is saying.
I don't think so. Next one's from Skid Row Mania. I don't believe in The Conjuring 2 any more than I believe in Furious 7, but is the devil really in the details? That is a very strangely worded question.
Yes. I believe in both of them.
Yes, no question.
I believe in both of them because I saw at least one of them in the theater. So,
Furious 7.
Yes.
I hope you guys are not knocking Furious 7. It was fantastic.
Casey's webcam right now is just surrounded in vape dust.
I don't know if it's called dust.
Vape juice.
Vape juice.
That's a little dry for vapor.
That would be a really terrible.
Look at how hazy he is over there.
Vape experience, just coughing up dust. Send it like the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah.
All right, this one's from Chris Vance. If one of you guys were possessed by a demon, how would you guys handle it? Who would it be? Maybe a drink with a nun.
Unclear.
None of these tweets make sense.
You know what's funny though? I did read this tweet earlier and had this thought. Has there ever been a movie, and I'm sure the answer is yes, but where someone gets possessed and they just try to get drunk as a way to get rid of the demon?
Just drink the demons away?
I don't know, but that is not completely crazy.
I did stumble across a movie on Showtime somewhere on their on-demand stuff, and I can't think of the name of it now. But it had the dude that played the Kurgan and was Mr. Krabs.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He was in Carnival. You guys know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name, but they're playing priests who were fighting demons, and they knew to be able to have more power against the demons that they had to live in sin to tap into the power of sin. So they are all drunks and doing drugs and shit.
Nice.
Okay.
Clancy Brown, that's his name.
Clancy Brown. I gotta look up this person.
I do like me some Clancy Brown.
That sounds like the weirdest fucking movie I've ever heard.
Oh sure, Clancy Brown. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I can find it. It was Hellbenders or something stupid. It was close though.
Love it. He's also known primarily. Oh, Mr. Krabs is SpongeBob SquarePants. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
The next one is from P.S. Gothier 1313. What is the scariest unexplained experience you've ever had?
I feel like we've probably covered this question previously.
Yeah, I had when I was a little kid, had a sighting of the hag in a dream. I woke up in the morning and asked my mom like why she was standing in my doorway the night before, and she was like, "I wasn't."
Oh
And I
no.
was like, "Fuck."
Your mom was just straight fucking with you, dude.
I was laying in bed and like I don't remember how old I was, maybe 10 or 11, and the door, because I could see my door because I was slept facing the door, and it opened up a little bit and there was like a dark silhouette of a woman in the doorway, and I was like, "Mom," and I just kept saying "Mom" because I'm like, who else would be standing in my fucking doorway? And then the door just shut.
It was me.
And then I
it
felt
was Mark dressed up like a woman.
I felt like I was awake, but I
You
guess
caught him cross-dressing.
I guess
Like E.T. in a wig.
I guess I was dreaming, but it was like so fucking like crisp in my mind, and still is. Like I'll never forget it. I mean, it was probably just like, it was a kid I was dreaming, but it scared the shit out of me.
I had when I was in college, I was dating a guy who I was in college, and when we were apart for the summer, we would like read to each other on Skype because that was my life. And he was reading, and I fell
Skype
asleep.
existed when you were in college.
Your powers of woo are strong.
And I woke up and he was going, "Dave," and he was really freaked out. And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Who just came in your room?"
Oh my god!
And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Never mind, I'll tell you tomorrow." And then he didn't tell me. So the next morning, I like slept with all the lights on. I woke up the next day. I was like, "What happened?" And he was like, "Well, I was reading," and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. So he says,
"You are some crazy kids."
I was reading to you, and I heard something moving, and I thought you were just moving around in front of your computer, but then I turned over, I looked at the screen and you were asleep. And he goes, "I heard your door open and close."
Wow.
And then I heard footsteps coming towards your bed, and that's when I woke you up. And then I got up and my door was locked from the inside.
That's messed up right
And
there.
I was like, "Fuck no, bye."
That's some unfriended shit there.
That's like a segment from VHS 3 is what that is.
It was super creepy.
That's fucked up.
Wasn't that in one of the VHS movies where there was a Skype situation?
The doctor's like communicating with his like fiance over Skype, and then there's,
Yeah,
like,
and stuff keeps running in and out of the room.
There's aliens.
Oh, it all just runs together for me, you know. I just don't know. All right, anyone else want to share? Or are we moving on?
John, any spooky stuff in the city, John?
Huh?
Any spooky stuff in the city, Schnorrs? Like a poor person tried to talk to you before?
Dude, there are some homeless people trying to talk to you every place you go in the city. I don't know what you're talking about.
Quick, random, very random, quick homeless story. When the Newells were in Chicago, I was trying to explain to them some directions on how to get somewhere, and there was a dude behind us just screaming random band names. So he was just going, "Nickelback, Rage Against the Machine," just yelling out band names. And it was, you know, it was something special.
He had some mental problems.
That was unexplained. That was an unexplained thing that happened to me recently. All right. Next one is from franchise MPLS. What horror movies and theaters are you most looking forward to this summer? Eric, are you aware there's another Underworld movie coming out?
What?
Mm-hmm. Something about blood and
Blood Wars. Underworld.
Yeah.
Blood Wars.
So I'm pretty excited. There is a movie called Neon Demon coming out, which is the new.
Are we gonna do
Is
that?
that really horror though?
Sophisticated gonna do that.
It's being marketed pretty hard as horror. I mean, so here's the problem we have, and we don't need to get into this too deep right now, but Independence Day comes out the same day as The Shallows and Neon Demon. They all come out on the 24th.
We have to do The Shallows.
And they come out right after The Purge, don't they? Or right
So
before
The Purge comes out the next week, and then we actually have an open week. So I figured we could plug The Shallows in either 7/8 or we do Independence Day on that week.
I would like to do Independence Day.
I mean, I know you would like to do it.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth, motherfucker.
What's
URF. What else? So
Did
Purge
you see
election
that?
year.
Did you see that they're actually using that in their promotional campaign? It's like hashtag Welcome to Earth.
It's great.
It's big in the trailer. You can see it. It's pretty funny.
Also,
have you seen that Purge election year is now using "Make America Great Again" in their election campaign?
No, it says keep, it says keep America great.
Make America Great Again. Apparently, there's a movie coming out in December called The Bye Bye Man.
Yeah, I don't. That is not being widely distributed.
The Bobble Man.
What is the thing in the league? The Bomber Man.
The Bobble Man. The Bobble Man.
And the Quit Monk.
The Quit Monk.
Yep. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to Purge election year. I think it's the second movie was pretty fun. I think if this one just like goes full balls out, it should be pretty fun.
All right, continue. I'm tired.
Cool. Yes, sir. This one's from Stout2114. Has Eric or anyone seen Edge of Tomorrow? Probably the best video game movie, and it's not even related to a video game.
No, I have not. Is that?
It's really great.
Tom Cruise.
It's now called Live, Die, Repeat.
Okay.
They changed the name of it.
Yep. I'm
Did
familiar.
they?
Yeah, they changed it
because they
for
thought it would market better.
They changed it for the video release. It was like this whole thing.
You know what?
I
I've
didn't know
seen like 10 minits of it, and it looked really cool.
It's
My father-in-law was watching
Yeah.
it, and I feel like maybe I should go back and watch the whole thing.
It's pretty cool.
All right, last one.
Well, sorry. Continue. Go ahead.
Whitney Lynn Art. Did anyone else notice the name Valak spelled out in at least 2 places in the Warren home early in the film?
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. So I did notice it at once. It was in the
I know
blocks.
your name. It's
It was in the blocks, like right before she has the vision.
No
the,
shit.
The daughter's like playing with stuff, and there's like blocks there that. So
spoiler alert: Demon's name is Valak.
Valak.
Uh,
Outlander. We have no woman.
Random video thought they gave no. Usually, you get like the only backstory you get is with the old man. You don't get a backstory on either of the other ghost situations in the house.
It's just a demon.
No, she did do an info dump on Valak. Something about he was the king of serpents or something.
There's a real dumb info dump when they're
why
in.
is he a nun?
When they're in the car.
Because
on their
they're
way,
religious and it's trying to turn their,
when they're in their
situation.
car on the way back to the house with the
You get
Warrens, like that 2-minute stretch of the movie when they're going back to the house after they like figured it's not a hoax. There's like the fucking craziest info dump ever. I've heard just being like, well, it's this and it's this and this is what happened and we were tricked by this.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're like they're
like
shouting
the
at each
car.
other.
She figures out the entire movie on the car ride from the train. Like, just like, in case you weren't following, we're going to just totally wrap this up for you.
I just thought like how silly it must have been to film that scene with them just spouting those lines off.
I mean, I got to find my book. I wrote the name in the book. And it's like 10 minutes dedicated to figuring out where the fuck she put the book.
meanwhile, it's like 1 letter per page, like for 50 fucking pages or something. I don't know.
Yeah, how did she not notice those were letters before? Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you guys want? We have 3 BGH classics, I think.
Yeah.
I will say though, while we're talking about Valak, I had a proud dad moment when they revealed his name because my daughter said, her first thought was, I thought that said Valake. I was going to say, why did they go with Aaron?
All right, quickly here because I know Eric, as well as myself, are flagging.
It's like quite literally falling out of the screen right now.
I have a
All
fever.
Right. So we've got 3. I'm pretty sure we haven't read any of these because we missed that episode with the Southbound incident. So the first one comes from @ThirdBreath. Megan, she says the quote is, "This show will be around until fuckable robots, and then all bets are off." That's Eric from the Google Report, episode 76, Drag Me to Hell.
And you guys saw Ex Machina and you're still going. That's
yeah, that's right. Good point, Sophie. Nice work.
That's a pretty funny line there, Eric. Nice work.
So this one I saw come in and it made my day. Episode 135, in which at Eric BGH continues his streak by discussing how much he is looking forward to My Soul to Take.
I definitely have prided myself on making really bold proclamations ahead of movies that I know are probably going to be wrong, and then it's always fun.
What a fucking rube!
Yeah.
This last one,
I wonder. I kind of want to go
100%
back.
Sure how to read it.
I want to go back.
You'll
and
understand why. This is from Barry Elmstrand at Schlocky Grotto. He says, "Joe person in a Semitic voice in like parentheses. You are not going to get me again, Hitler." Episode 254, World War Z.
Wow.
And apologies to Schlaggy Grotto. He did send us this once previously, but he did just BGH Classic, and so he used the hashtag retry.
Yeah, so to explain this whole thing, BGH Classics, we're having people send in quotes from older episodes with the episode number, just as kind of a fun way to drum up past movies. Speaking of past movies, Spencer reviewed Shrooms for Bloody Good Horror. And I immediately sent him a note apologizing that he had to do that he did that.
Such a bad movie.
It's real fucking bad. So,
sounded
all right,
cool
B. Spencer.
That was another movie I thought was going to be great.
What's that?
was another movie I thought was going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, bloodygoodhorror.com. There's a website. New reviews every day.
We have an open week next week. We could go back to Southbound if the group is willing.
Sure.
That'd be fairly easy. And it's still.
I thought it was like more theater.
No, we have basically one open week until we hit basically 6 or 7 weeks straight in the theater. So.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So coming next week, Southbound. Finally.
Yep.
You're welcome, everyone.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter @BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. We're on Snapchat. We're on fucking Instagram.
We sure are on fucking Instagram.
Dick pics. Yeah. Joe doing stuff.
If you can scroll through it on your phone, we're on it.
Yeah, that's right, motherfucker. Mark, what? What's going on the website?
So we've got so I've got something going up from Andrew, another one of his horror commentary reviews. We have new reviews every day. We've got some hot takes on the Rob Zombie trailer. And I'm also batting around some ideas for some updates to the website. I know I say that like every week, but batting around some cool ideas for some ways to change up the website in the fall. And I will say it so that I'm held somewhat accountable. But that's a thing that's happening in the background. But we have new reviews every day. We've got lists going up. Particularly, Andrew's been digging into some like really cool stuff. So you should go to bloodygoodhorror.com and check it out.
Awesome. That's gonna do it for this show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye. My camera moved.